I worked 2 jobs to pay my sister's degree. At dinner, she called me a loser, and she is embarrassed to introduce me to her in-laws. I ended her rent and told the family exactly why. Silence. Until the first of the month. Hey Reddit, buckle up because this one's going to piss you off before it gets satisfying. I, 29 male, need to get this off my chest. And honestly, writing it all out might help me process the absolute shit show my family has become. I'm Jake, and I work in commercial HVAC. Not glamorous, I know. I crawl through attics in 120-degree heat, troubleshoot broken systems in the middle of January when it's 15 degrees outside, and spend half my time covered in insulation fibers that make you itch for days. But you know what? I'm damn good at it. Make about $85,000 a year now, own my house outright, drive a paid-off truck, and have zero debt. Not bad for a guy who started as an apprentice at 18 making $12 an hour. My sister Emma, 26 female, is a different story. And by different, I mean she's the golden child who's never had to work for a damn thing in her life. Growing up, the favoritism wasn't even subtle. I'm talking about some next-level bullshit that would make a therapist's eyes light up with dollar signs. Emma was the baby, the princess, the one who could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was basically an afterthought with a pulse. When I was 14, I wanted to join the robotics club at school. Cost $200 for materials and registration. Dad looked at me like I'd asked for a kidney. That's a lot of money, Jake. Maybe you could mow some lawns to earn it? Meanwhile, Emma's dance classes that same year, $350 a month, plus costumes, plus competition fees. Never questioned once. High school was more of the same. I worked at Burger King junior and senior year to buy my own car. A beat-up 1998 Honda Civic that burned oil and had a passenger door that didn't open from the outside. Emma got a brand new Volkswagen Jetta for her 16th birthday. Bright red, leather interior, all the bells and whistles. Mom cried happy tears when Emma drove off that first day. When I finally got my Civic running after 3 months of saving and fixing it with YouTube videos, Dad just said, "Make sure you keep up with the oil changes." The real divergence happened when college applications started. I had decent grades. 3.4 GPA, nothing spectacular, but solid. I got into state school with a partial scholarship. The rest would have been about $15,000 a year after loans. I remember sitting at the kitchen table with my acceptance letter, actually excited for once. Dad barely looked up from his newspaper. "You're planning to work while you're there, right?" "We can't help much." "Can't help much." Translation? Won't help at all. Emma's college situation? Completely different universe. She had a 2.8 GPA, got rejected from her first 3 choices, but finally squeaked into this fancy private liberal arts college 3 states away. Tuition was $52,000 a year, not including room and board, not including her meal plan, her books, her sorority fees, her spring breaks in Cancun. When I asked how the hell they were going to afford that, Mom got this defensive look. "We've been saving for Emma's education. You know she's always wanted to go to a good school." "What about me?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Did you save for me too?" The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. Turns out there was a college fund. Just one. They'd started it when Emma was born and put every spare dollar into it for years. The plan had been to start a second one for me later, but things got tight, and they never got around to it. So Emma got a $200,000 college fund while I got nothing, and they saw absolutely no problem with this. I didn't go to college. Couldn't afford it, couldn't justify the debt, and honestly, I was too pissed at my parents to ask them for a dime. I got my HVAC certification at the local trade school, $3,000 total, which I paid for by working 2 jobs. Continued living at home because I couldn't afford not to, paying Mom $300 a month in rent. Emma's college dorm room cost $1,200 a month, and they paid it happily. But here's where things get really messed up. Emma's sophomore year, she decided she wanted to transfer to an even fancier school in Boston. More prestigious, better sorority, better opportunities. Tuition there was $65,000 a year. The college fund ran out after 1 year. I was 21, working as a junior HVAC tech, and picking up weekend shifts at Home Depot to save for a down payment on a house. Had about $18,000 saved up after 3 years of grinding. Kept it in this high-yield savings account, watching it grow penny by penny. Mom called me into the living room one Sunday. Dad was there too, looking uncomfortable, which should have been my first warning sign. "Jake, honey, we need to talk about Emma." Here we go, I thought. Turns out Emma's fancy Boston school was going to cost way more than they planned. The college fund was gone. They'd taken out Parent Plus loans for her first year, but couldn't qualify for more. Emma was apparently devastated at the thought of not finishing her degree at her dream school. "So what are you asking?" I said, already knowing the answer. Mom did this little hand flutter thing she does when she's about to ask for something unreasonable. "We were hoping you might be able to help. Just for this year. Maybe $20,000? We'll pay you back when we can." I laughed. Actually laughed out loud, which clearly wasn't the response they expected. "You want me to give you the money I've been saving for a house? The money I earned working 2 jobs while Emma's been partying in Boston?" "It's not like that," Dad said. "Emma's been working very hard." "At what? Instagram?" "Last I checked, she posts brunch pictures 4 times a week." Mom's expression hardened. "Jake, she's getting an education. That's important." "So was mine. Apparently just not important enough to save for." The guilt trip that followed was masterful. I had to give them credit. They hit all the classics. She's your sister. Family helps family. When you have kids someday, you'll understand. We've given you so much. And my personal favorite, you're being selfish. I caved. I don't know why. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the desperate look on Mom's face. Maybe I was just too exhausted from working 60-hour weeks to fight. I gave them $20,000. Almost everything I'd saved. "We'll pay you back," Dad promised, "once we get the refinance done on the house." That was 5 years ago. I've seen exactly $0 of that money back. But wait, it gets better. Emma's junior year, same situation. Her loans weren't enough. Could Jake help out again? Just $15,000 this time. She's almost done. This is an investment in her future. I just started making better money, working my way up to lead technician. Had saved about $8,000 in the year since I gave them the $20,000. Stupidly, I gave them that too, plus took out a personal loan for the rest. Figured at least this time I'd have documentation. Something official. Senior year? You guessed it. Another $12,000. This time I put it on a credit card at 18% interest because I was tapped out, and they made it sound like Emma would have to drop out just 3 months before graduation if I didn't help. Total amount I paid for Emma's degree, $47,000. Total amount I received in thanks. A text that said, "Thanks, bro, or the best," with a heart emoji. After Emma graduated, with honors in communications, whatever the hell you do with that, she moved back home for 6 months. Rent-free, obviously. Spent most of her time job hunting, which apparently meant scrolling through LinkedIn while watching Netflix. She finally landed a job in marketing at some mid-level company. Starting salary was $48,000, which isn't bad for entry level. Mom threw her a whole celebration dinner, invited the entire extended family, bought a fancy cake, made this whole speech about how proud she was that Emma had made something of herself. I'd been making $70,000 at that point, and living in my own house I'd bought 2 years prior. Nobody had thrown me a dinner. Emma moved into this trendy apartment downtown with 2 roommates. The rent was steep, $1,400 for her share, but she wanted to live in the young professional area. Mom and Dad were helping her with rent while she got established, which I only found out about when I overheard them talking about it. "Wait, you're paying her rent?" I asked. "Just until she gets on her feet," Mom said defensively. "I've been on my feet since I was 18. I don't remember anyone helping with my rent." "That was different. You had a trade. Emma needs time to build her career." "Different. That word again." About a year after Emma started her job, she met Connor. Rich kid from the suburbs, works in finance, drives a BMW his daddy bought him. Real, I peaked in my college fraternity type. You know the kind. Perfectly gelled hair, polo shirts with the collar popped, probably says, "It is what it is," at least 6 times a day. Emma was absolutely smitten. Started posting couple photos constantly. Them at fancy restaurants, them at his family's lake house, them on weekend trips to Nashville and Chicago. All places that cost money I knew she didn't have since her marketing job wasn't exactly printing cash. When I asked her how she was affording all this, she got snippy. "Connor pays for most stuff. He doesn't mind." Of course he doesn't. I'm sure it's very easy to be generous when your trust fund has more commas than my yearly salary. 2 years later, Connor proposed. Big, elaborate proposal at some fancy restaurant where they definitely serve portions the size of Post-it notes for $80. Emma called me crying happy tears, going on and on about the ring. 2.5 carats, custom setting, blah, blah, blah. The engagement kicked everything into high gear. Emma started planning this massive wedding. I'm talking 200 plus guests, destination venue, open bar, live band, the whole 9 yards. She hired a wedding planner who probably cost more than my truck. Connor's parents were apparently contributing significantly, which I found out later meant they were basically paying for everything. The venue alone was $15,000. Emma's dress was $4,000. Her bridesmaids' dresses, which she picked out and expected them to pay for, were $300 each. Mom was in full mother of the bride mode, posting about wedding planning constantly, going to every dress fitting, every cake tasting, every venue walkthrough. It was her whole personality for 6 months. Around this time, Emma moved out of her apartment to move in with Connor before the wedding. They got a condo in this nice area closer to Connor's work. 2 bedrooms, granite countertops, that whole fake luxury vibe that screams, I make $80,000 a year, but live like I make $200,000. Here's where I come back into the picture. Emma's job had been going okay, but she'd gotten passed over for a promotion. She was making about $52,000 now after 3 years, which was decent, but not great for someone with $0 in student loans, thanks to the Bank of Jake. Connor made around $95,000 in finance, which sounds like a lot until you remember he's making car payments on a leased BMW, student loan payments on his own degree, and trying to save for the wedding. The condo rent was $2,400 a month. They were splitting it equally, except Emma couldn't actually afford her half on her salary, not with all her other expenses. So Connor was covering about $1,800, and she was paying $600. This arrangement lasted about 4 months before Connor started getting pissy about money. Started making comments about how Emma needed to step up financially, how he couldn't keep subsidizing her lifestyle. Real charmer, this guy. That's when Emma called me. Hey, so I have a huge favor to ask. I was in the middle of diagnosing a faulty compressor in some office building's AC system, sweating my ass off in a 95-degree mechanical room. What's up? So Connor's being a total jerk about money. He wants me to pay a bigger share of rent, but I literally can't afford it with the wedding expenses and everything. I was wondering if you could help me out. I almost dropped my multimeter. Help you out how? Just cover my rent for a few months? Until I figure things out? It's only like $1,200 a month? Only $1,200 a month. Sure, pocket change. Emma, I already paid for your entire college education. I'm not paying your rent too. You didn't pay for my entire education, she said defensively. Mom and Dad helped. With the college fund they saved exclusively for you while I got nothing? Yeah, they helped all right. Why are you bringing that up? That was forever ago. It was 5 years ago, and you still haven't paid me back a single dollar. Silence on her end. Then, I didn't realize you were keeping score. I'm not keeping score. I'm just saying I can't afford to keep funding your lifestyle while I'm over here working 60-hour weeks. Fine. Whatever. I'll figure it out myself. She hung up. For about 2 weeks, I didn't hear from her. Then Mom called. Jake, Emma told me you refused to help her with rent. That's correct. She's really struggling right now. Connor's putting a lot of pressure on her. That's between Emma and Connor. But you're her brother. Don't you care about her well-being? And there it was. The guilt trip. Mom, I've given Emma $47,000 over the past 5 years. I have cared about her well-being. A lot. But I can't keep being her personal ATM. $47,000? Mom sounded genuinely surprised. It wasn't that much. Yeah, it was. I have all the receipts if you want to see them. More silence. Well, we'll figure something out, Mom finally said, and hung up. What they figured out was this. Mom and Dad started paying Emma's rent again. All $1,200 of her share. They were basically subsidizing her adult life while she planned her expensive wedding to her moderately wealthy fiancé. I found this out when Dad called asking if I could loan them $3,000 for a car repair. What kind of car repair costs $3,000? Transmission issues on your mother's SUV. I drove over there that night. Mom's SUV was sitting in the driveway, running perfectly fine. I even popped the hood and checked. Nothing wrong with it. Dad, the car's fine. He had the decency to look embarrassed. Okay, fine. We need it for Emma's rent. Connor's threatening to kick her out if she doesn't start paying her full share. Then maybe she should get a roommate or a cheaper place. She can't break her lease. And Connor's place is nice. It's good for her. I got in my truck and left without another word. The months leading up to the wedding were surprisingly quiet. Emma was too busy with wedding planning to bother me. Mom was too absorbed in mother of the bride duties to guilt-trip me about money. Dad had apparently gotten the message that I wasn't the family bank anymore. I'd been invited to the wedding, obviously. Got a fancy invitation in the mail with my name written in calligraphy. Jake Morrison and guest. The +1 made me laugh since I'd been single for 2 years, and Emma knew it. But whatever. IRSVP Ed for one. The wedding was set for late September at this fancy vineyard an hour outside the city. I'll admit, the venue was beautiful. Rolling hills, sunset views, string lights everywhere. Connor's parents had spared no expense. I showed up in my best suit, the one I bought for $300 at Men's Warehouse 5 years ago that still fit perfectly. Emma had insisted on a specific dress code, cocktail attire, but elevated, whatever that meant. The ceremony was fine. Emma looked happy. Connor looked like every finance bro who's ever existed. They said their vows, kissed, everyone clapped. Standard wedding stuff. The reception was where things got interesting. Dinner was this elaborate 5-course meal. I got seated at a table with some random cousins and family friends. Emma and Connor were at the head table with their wedding party. Mom and Dad were at a table with Connor's parents. The McMansion crowd, I called them mentally. Everything was going fine until Connor's mom, Patricia, came over to make rounds greeting guests. She was this perfectly put-together woman in her late 50s, wearing pearls and that smile rich people wear when they're being polite but judging you internally. "You must be Jake," she said, extending her hand. "Emma's brother." "That's me," I said, shaking her hand. "And what do you do?" "HVAC technician." Her smile didn't change, but something in her eyes did. "Oh, how practical. And you're here alone?" "Yep." "Well, enjoy the evening," she said, and moved on to the next table. About an hour later, after everyone had eaten and the dancing had started, I went outside to get some air. The venue had this nice patio area with heat lamps since it was getting chilly. That's where I found Emma, Connor, and Connor's parents having what looked like a private conversation. I was about to turn around and leave when I heard my name. "Jake's the one who works on air conditioners," Patricia was saying. Not exactly, but close enough that I knew who she meant. "Yeah," Emma said, and I caught the edge in her voice. "He's an HVAC. And he came alone?" Connor's dad, Richard, said. "No girlfriend?" "No, he's been single for a while. He works a lot. Blue-collar work," Patricia said. Not unkindly, but not warmly either. "Important work, of course. Someone has to do it." I should have left right then. Should have walked away and let them have their little rich people conversation. But I stayed, partially hidden by a decorative tree, listening. "Is that who I saw you talking to earlier?" Richard asked Emma. "The guy in the Men's Warehouse suit?" Emma laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh my God, yes, I felt so bad. Connor's colleagues are all here looking amazing, and then there's Jake in his off-the-rack suit." "Emma," Connor said, sounding uncomfortable. "What?" "I'm just saying. I love my brother, but I don't know. He's just so different from our crowd." "Different how?" Patricia asked. "He's just kind of a loser, I guess. Like, he makes decent money for what he does, but he has no ambition. He lives in this tiny house, drives a beat-up truck, works all the time. He doesn't even try to better himself." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Emma," Connor said again, more forcefully this time. "I'm serious. I was actually kind of embarrassed introducing him to your parents earlier. Like, everyone else here is a lawyer or in finance or runs a business. And then there's my brother who fixes air conditioners." My hands were shaking. 5 years. 5 years of sacrificing my savings, taking out loans, putting my own life on hold to pay for her education. And this was what she really thought of me. "He seems nice enough," Patricia said diplomatically. "He is nice," Emma said. "He's just unsuccessful. Mom and Dad tried, but he chose trade school instead of college. What can you do?" Chose. As if I'd had a choice. As if they hadn't drained their college fund on her and left me with nothing. I turned and walked back inside, my face burning. Went straight to the bar and ordered a whiskey. Downed it. Ordered another. I was on my third when Mom found me. "Jake, there you are. Connor's parents want to get a family photo with everyone." "Pass." "What?" "Don't be silly. Come on." I said no. She grabbed my arm. "What's wrong with you?" I pulled away. "Ask Emma what's wrong with me. Or better yet, ask her what she thinks of her loser brother who embarrasses her in front of her fancy in-laws." Mom's face went pale. "You heard that?" "Every word." "Jake, she didn't mean—" "Yeah, she did. And you know what? I'm done." I left. Didn't say goodbye to anyone, didn't make a scene, just walked out to my truck and drove home. The Monday after the wedding, I did 3 things. First, I called my bank and transferred $1,200 from my savings to Emma's rent account. The account I'd set up 3 months prior when Mom asked me to temporarily help with Emma's rent while she and Connor figured things out. I'd been paying it every month like an idiot, even after she called me unsuccessful to Connor's family. The transfer was just sitting there from September, set to auto-pay on the 1st of October. I canceled it. Canceled the recurring payment too. Second, I sent a detailed email to both my parents and Emma. Subject line: financial accounting. In it, I broke down every single dollar I'd paid for Emma's education. Every wire transfer, every personal loan payment, every credit card charge. $47,000 itemized by semester and year. I included copies of my bank statements, loan documents, credit card bills, everything. Then I added a second section. Rent payments. $1,200 a month for the past 3 months. Another $3,600. Total. $50,600. I wrote, I've attached documentation of every dollar I've contributed to Emma's life over the past 5 years. This email serves as notice that all financial support from me has ended, effective immediately. The $1,200 rent payment scheduled for October 1st has been canceled. Any future expenses are Emma's responsibility. This decision has nothing to do with money, and everything to do with respect. I will no longer fund the lifestyle of someone who considers me an unsuccessful, embarrassing loser. Do not contact me asking for money. Do not contact me asking for loans. Do not contact me with family emergencies that require my wallet. That door is permanently closed. For the record, I didn't choose trade school over college. I chose trade school because there was no college fund for me. I'm not unsuccessful. I own my home, I have zero debt, and I make a solid living doing work I'm good at. I'm not embarrassed by my life, and I won't let anyone else's misplaced superiority make me feel bad about my choices. Good luck with the rent. Jake, hit send. Felt amazing. Third, I blocked Emma's number. Blocked mom and dad too. Cleared my calendar of all family events for the foreseeable future. Then I went to work. The silence lasted until 11:47 p.m. on September 30th. That's when Emma called from Connor's phone. I'd blocked her number but not his. I answered out of curiosity. What? Jake? Emma's voice, high and panicked. Jake, oh my God, I've been trying to call you all day. I blocked you. Why? What did I do? I almost laughed. You're kidding, right? Is this about the wedding? Because if you heard something, it was taken out of context. Emma, I heard you call me a loser. I heard you say you were embarrassed of me. I heard every word. Silence. I was just... Connor's parents were being judgmental and I was trying to... You were trying to what? Distance yourself from your unsuccessful brother who fixed air conditioners while you planned your fancy wedding? That's not fair. What's not fair is you calling me a loser after I paid $47,000 for your degree. It wasn't $47,000. It was. I have the receipts. Check your email. While you're there, you'll see that I've canceled your October rent payment. Just wanted to give you a heads up since you'll need to figure that out before tomorrow. What? Jake, no. You can't do that. I don't have that money right now. Then I guess you better call mom and dad. They can't afford it either. They've been covering other wedding expenses and... Not my problem. Jake, please. Connor's already threatening to kick me out if I don't pay my share. If this payment doesn't go through, I'm screwed. Should have thought of that before you trashed me to your in-laws. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. Yeah, you did. You meant every word. And now you get to deal with the consequences. I hung up. Blocked Connor's number too. The next 3 hours were wild. I got calls from the following people, all of which I either blocked or sent to voicemail. Mom, 6 calls. Dad, 8 calls. Emma, from what I assume was Connor's parents' phone. My Aunt Susan, who I haven't talked to in 3 years. My cousin Brad, who I definitely don't like Connor himself from his work phone. I listened to exactly 1 voicemail from Dad. Jake, this is ridiculous. Emma is about to be evicted. You need to send that rent money right now, and we can talk about this later. She's your sister. Family doesn't do this to family. I deleted it. October 1st. Rent is due. My phone starts blowing up at 8 a.m. I'm on a job site installing a new AC unit in some office building. My phone's on silent, but I can see the notifications piling up. Text messages, missed calls, voicemails. I ignore all of it and focus on my work. Lunch break at noon, I finally check my phone. 47 missed calls. 93 text messages. 12 voicemails. The texts are a journey through the 5 stages of grief. Emma, from a number I don't recognize. Jake, please, I'm begging you. The payment didn't go through and Connor is freaking out. He's threatening to call his parents. This is so humiliating. Please just send the money and we can talk about everything. Mom. Jake Morrison. You answer your phone right now. Your sister is in crisis. Dad. Son, I don't know what Emma said to you, but this is too far. She could be homeless. Emma again. I can't believe you'd do this to me. After everything we've been through. After I was there for you when Sarah broke up with you. Side note. Emma wasn't there for me when Sarah broke up with me. She sent 1 text that said, "That sucks," and then asked if I could help her move. The texts continue. Mom. Fine. If you won't send the money, I will. But we need to discuss your attitude problem. 2 hours later. Emma. Mom sent the money, but now she and Dad can't make their mortgage payment. Hope you're happy. Connor, from yet another number. Dude, this is between you and Emma, but dragging me into it isn't cool. Man to man, we need to talk. I screenshot all of these. Save them in a folder called Family Evidence. Then go back to work. That evening, I get a knock on my door. It's Dad, looking exhausted. Can I come in? I almost say no, but curiosity wins. Make it quick. He sits on my couch without being invited. Looks around my living room like he's never seen it before, even though he's been here plenty of times. Your mother and I had to drain our savings to cover Emma's rent. Okay. That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? I told you 3 months ago I wasn't going to keep paying it. You didn't say you'd cut her off with 0 notice. I gave notice in my email. Sent it Monday morning. Rent wasn't due until Friday. That's 4 days' notice. 4 days to come up with $1,200. 4 years to pay me back $47,000. Dad's face goes red. That money was a gift. No, it was loans you promised to pay back. Plural. Multiple loans that I'm still paying interest on, while Emma complains about how embarrassing I am. She was upset at the wedding. She didn't mean, Dad, stop. She meant exactly what she said. She thinks I'm a loser. You guys have thought that for years. The difference is, she finally said it out loud. That's not true. No? When's the last time you asked about my work? When's the last time you came to see my house? Attended any milestone in my life that didn't involve giving money to Emma? He's quiet. That's what I thought. You can go. Jake, get out of my house. He leaves. I deadbolt the door behind him. Over the next week, the campaign to break me down intensifies. Mom stops by my work site. Actually shows up at this office building where I'm installing ductwork. Security has to escort her out because she's screaming about what a terrible son I am in the lobby. Emma creates a fake Facebook account to message me because I've blocked her real one. The message is 7 paragraphs long, all about how I'm tearing the family apart and how she's going to lose Connor and how it's all my fault. I screenshot it, block the account, and go back to watching Netflix. Connor's mom, Patricia, calls my work number somehow. My boss patches it through, thinking it's a client. Jake, this is Patricia McMaster, Connor's mother. I think we should talk about this situation with Emma. I don't think that's necessary. Connor is very upset. This is putting a strain on their marriage before it's even started. Then maybe Connor should have married someone who could afford rent. That's incredibly rude. So is calling someone an unsuccessful loser at their own brother's wedding. Silence. Then, Emma said you took that out of context. Emma's a liar. Have a nice day. I hang up. My boss Jerry sticks his head in my office. Everything okay? Family stuff. Sorry about that. No worries, though maybe don't answer your work line if you're gonna tell rich ladies to have a nice day in that tone. He's smiling though. The turning point comes 2 weeks after I cut Emma off. I'm at Home Depot picking up supplies when I run into Connor. Pure coincidence. He's in the electrical aisle looking lost, and I'm grabbing wire nuts. Jake. Connor. Awkward silence. Can we talk? Depends. You here to convince me to pay Emma's rent? No, actually, I'm here to apologize. That stops me. For what? For not shutting down that conversation at the wedding. When my parents and Emma were trashing you, I should have said something. Instead, I just sat there like a coward. I study his face, trying to figure out if this is some kind of manipulation tactic. Emma told me everything, he continues. About the college money. About the loans you took out. She's been lying to me about a lot of things. Like what? Like how she was paying rent before we got married. Turns out your parents were covering half and you were covering the other half. I thought she was paying out of her salary. When I found out she'd been lying, it kind of reframed everything. So what, you're kicking her out? No, but I am making her pay her full share from now on. My parents had some things to say about that conversation at the wedding too. My mom felt bad after you told her Emma was lying about your situation. She did some math and realized you make almost as much as I do, except you own your house outright and I'm drowning in student loans. This entire conversation feels surreal. Why are you telling me this? Because Emma's been playing victim to everyone who'll listen, and someone needs to tell the truth. You're not the bad guy here, man. She is. We stand there in the electrical aisle for another minute, not saying anything. For what it's worth, Connor finally says, I think you made the right call. He leaves. I buy my wire nuts and go home. That conversation must have triggered something, because the next day I get a call from Mom. I almost don't answer, but something tells me to pick up. Jake, Mom, your father and I need to talk to you. Can you come over? Why? Just, please. Against my better judgment, I drive over that evening. Both of them are sitting in the living room. Dad looks like he's aged 10 years in 2 weeks. Mom's eyes are red like she's been crying. Sit down, Mom says. I remain standing. What's this about? Dad clears his throat. We've been doing a lot of thinking. About everything. About how we've treated you over the years. I wait. We owe you an apology, Mom says. A real one. Not just about the college fund, but about everything. The way we favored Emma. The way we took you for granted. The way we treated your work like it was somehow less than hers. What brought this on? Connor's mother called us, Dad says. Said some things that were hard to hear. About how we'd raised Emma to think she was better than other people. How we'd enabled her to become someone who uses people and throws them away. She also said, Mom continues, voice breaking, that if she'd had a son who paid for his sister's entire education and asked for nothing in return, she'd be thanking him every day instead of treating him like a bank. Silence falls over the room. She's right, Dad says finally. Everything Patricia said, she's right. We've been terrible parents to you. I don't know what to say. This is what I've wanted to hear for years. But now that it's happening, it feels hollow. Emma's moving out, Mom says. Connor told her either she gets her finances together or the engagement is off. She's moving back home with us. And you're letting her? We're charging her rent, Dad says. $1,000 a month, the same as market rate for a room in this area. She can't afford that on her salary. Then she'll need to figure it out, Mom says firmly. We can't keep enabling this behavior. Patricia made that very clear. If we keep rescuing Emma from every consequence, she'll never learn. It's surreal hearing my mother say this. The same woman who'd once driven Emma's forgotten homework to school during her finals week in college. What about the money I loaned you? I ask. The $47,000? They exchange a glance. We can't pay it back in full right now, Dad admits. But we want to set up a payment plan. $500 a month until it's paid off. We'll put it in writing, make it official. Why should I believe you'll actually pay? Because if we don't, Mom says, Patricia McMaster has made it clear she'll make sure everyone in their social circle knows exactly what kind of people we are. And after meeting her and her friends, I can't afford that kind of social suicide. So it's not guilt. It's social pressure. Somehow that's both disappointing and unsurprising. I'll think about it, I say, and leave. 2 days later, Emma shows up at my house. I watch her through my Ring doorbell camera for a full minute before deciding to open the door. She looks rough. Hair in a messy bun, no makeup, wearing sweats and an old college hoodie I remember buying her freshman year. I'm not giving you money, I say before she can speak. I'm not here for money. Then what do you want? To apologize. Actually apologize, not the bullshit I tried to pull over the phone. I lean against the doorframe, arms crossed. I'm listening. I was a complete bitch at the wedding. Everything I said about you was wrong and cruel, and I said it to try to impress Connor's parents, which makes it even worse. You've been nothing but supportive my entire life, and I repaid you by treating you like you were beneath me. Keep going. I've been thinking about why I acted that way, and I think it's because I was jealous. Jealous? Of what? Of you. Of the fact that you have your shit together. You own a house, you're good at your job, you're independent. Meanwhile, I'm 26, living with my fiancé who threatened to dump me over rent money, working a job I hate, drowning in wedding debt, and completely dependent on other people to survive. You have a degree I paid for. You could get a better job. With a communications degree? Jake, I fucked up. I picked the wrong major, worked just hard enough to graduate, and now I'm stuck in this media mediocrity while you're actually successful. I thought I was unsuccessful. She winces. I know. I'm sorry. I said that because it made me feel better about my own failures. If I could convince myself that your life was worse than mine, then I didn't have to face how badly I'd messed up my own. We stand there in silence. This is the most honest conversation Emma and I have ever had. Connor broke off the engagement, she says finally. Said he needs time to figure out if I'm the person he thought I was. I'm moving back home. Mom's charging me rent. I can barely afford it. My life is falling apart. And you were right to cut me off. I needed to hit rock bottom to realize what I've become. What have you become? Someone I don't like very much. I consider her for a long moment. She's not wrong. This is probably the best thing that could have happened to her. I'm not paying your rent, I say, and I'm not loaning you any more money. But if you want actual help, like career advice or help fixing up your resume, I'll do that. Really? Really. But Emma, if you ever call me a loser again, if you ever treat me like I'm beneath you because of what I do for a living, we're done. Permanently. I understand. She leaves. I don't know if she'll actually change. People rarely do. But at least she acknowledged the problem. That was 3 months ago. Here's what's happened since. Mom and Dad have made 3 monthly payments of $500. They've kept to their word so far. I have it all documented in case they try to back out. Emma still lives at home. She's paying her $1,000 monthly rent. Barely. She got a second job bartending on weekends to make it work. Mom says she's been humbler, quieter, less entitled. Connor and Emma are still broken up, but I heard through the grapevine they're talking. Not sure what that means for their future, don't really care. I've maintained minimal contact with my parents. We talk about once a week briefly. They don't ask me for money anymore. That alone is worth the price of admission. I'm still single, still working HVAC, still living in my paid-off house. Life is peaceful without the constant family drama. Aunt Susan called to apologize for the nasty voicemail she left in October. Turns out Emma had been lying to everyone about why I cut her off. Susan thought I was just being petty about some wedding slight, not responding to years of financial exploitation. Best part? I bought myself a new truck with the money I would have spent on Emma's rent these past 3 months. Nothing fancy, just a reliable work vehicle that I picked out myself and paid for in cash. It's mine, earned with my own work, and nobody can take it from me. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.